You ever come home thinking all you'll have to deal with is a flat tire or maybe a raccoon in the trash, and instead you walk up on a crime scene, your own life wiped off the map, and everybody's pretending it's business as usual? Yeah, that happened to me. Let me back up a sec. I'm not the kind of guy who gets rattled easy. But the day I rolled back to Caldwell Lake expecting peace and found a brand new 8-foot aluminum fence, a shiny sign that said private HOA access, trespassers will be fined, and no sign of my old cabin. That was the day I realized some folks don't just steal your land. They try to steal your whole sense of belonging and think you'll just roll over and take it. I'd just gotten off the gravel road and hit that old ruddy path, sunlight slicing through pine trees like God's own spotlight. And for a split second, I felt like I was coming home. But when I saw that fence, my heart about stopped. It was all wrong. That was my land, my dock, my view. Now it looked empty, scrubbed clean. My cabin was gone. Not fallen down, not burned, gone. All that was left was the slab edges rough, like it had been chewed up by jackhammers, a pile of splintered lumber dumped under a pine, and that damn sign shiny as a new penny. Let me tell you, at 44, I'm still spry enough to climb a fence, just not graceful about it. I dropped over boots thudding and walked the perimeter, just soaking in the silence. The dock I rebuilt with my own hands, ripped out pilings, sawed clean. No tools. No note, just bare earth and a mess where my life used to be. That's the kind of violation you don't really feel till you're standing in it. So I did what anyone would. I called the sheriff, gave them the parcel number, told them what happened. 2 deputies showed one old-timer with a mustache like a broom and a kid who looked like he was about to ask me for lunch money. I showed them every document I had: title deed, parcel, map, permits. The old guy walked with me, the young one called someone, and next thing I know, they're handing me a letter from the Lake Watch Vista HOA saying the land had been abandoned and turned over for community access. I about laughed myself sick. Abandoned, I'd only been gone 6 weeks. I had active permits. I pay my taxes, never joined an HOA, never got a notice, nothing. But the letter was filed official looking, and the deputy told me it's a civil matter. Until the county sorts the chain of title, there's nothing we can do. You know that hollow, angry feeling when you're being railroaded but the machine's already rolling? That's what I had. I sat there on the ruined slab till dark, staring at the mess, running through every possibility in my mind. Mistake, paperwork, error, something more. By dawn, I was at the county clerk's office with my file box in hand, demanding to see the latest entry. That's where the story took a real turn. The clerk, Denise, tough as nails, smelled like coffee, and skepticism pulled up the record. There it was, intent to abandon property, signed by the previous owner, Richard Kessler. Only Kessler's been dead 2 years, and the signature wasn't his. The notary, Sandra Lynn. Never heard of her, but LinkedIn said she worked for a title firm founded by Russell Barton, the HOA president. Yeah, that set my nerves on fire. I had Denise print 6 copies, all notarized. In my truck, I was already running name traces online, trying to piece together who pulled this off. I called Marcus Kessler, son of the late owner. He was shocked, said, "We never filed any abandonment. You bought it fair and square." I had the deed, but that wasn't stopping them. So I went to the county planning office, sat in a mildew-smelling lobby for an hour to see who signed off the demolition. Sandra Lynn again. Her name was everywhere, always near Barton's. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. Created a fake Facebook profile, joined the HOA's community group as Tracy Gilmore, a teacher looking for lake property. Within hours, I was in asking about reclaimed lots, listening to board members like Glenn Barton's sidekick talk about consolidating dead zones and community safety. Tracy screenshot everything. The arrogance was wild. One post even joked about people not realizing their land was gone until the fence went up, little laughing emojis and all. That stuff sticks in your craw. I knew this wasn't just a paper mix-up. I called James Tanner, an old friend turned property lawyer, told him the whole thing. They forged a dead man's signature and knocked down your house I'm in. Send me everything he said. By next day, we had a cease and desist out of restraining order in motion, and I was assembling affidavits. That's when the HOA fired back an invoice for $72,400 in compliance fees like I owed them for destroying my own property. I sent that to Tanner and just laughed. It was getting ridiculous. Meanwhile, Tracy kept digging. The HOA talked big about community unity, but behind the scenes, folks were scared or angry. Valerie and her husband lost their dock to sudden policy changes. Caleb had his property line redrawn overnight, had photos to prove it. This was a pattern. I filed a complaint with the state attorney general, laid out everything: fake docks, destruction threats, you name it. Tanner got statements from neighbors, started a class action. I pulled survey maps, found the county records, had shifted my boundary 30 feet, taking the dock and half my lot out, shoving it into limbo for reclamation. All approved by Barton's people. Denise at the clerk's office couldn't say much, but her eyes told the story. Now here's where the twist comes in. See, I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. A guy named Nate, former HOA finance, let slip that the board had taken out shady loans to beautify the shoreline, high interest, bad terms. I realized if I bought up that debt, I could squeeze them from the inside. So I did use an old LLC, bought enough debt on the open market to call in the note. Sent a formal demand for nearly $500,000, threatened to seize community assets, including their fancy new fence. Meanwhile, Tracy started asking about refinancing in the Facebook group. Glenn and Barton started scrambling. The group went silent. They knew something was up. That's when the real threats started. My trail cams disappeared. Drone footage caught 3 guys in a black SUV torching what was left of my foundation, burning evidence plain as day. I bagged what I could, called Tanner. He called it arson. We added it to the AG complaint. It was bigger than a land dispute now. It was organized crime. Then out of the blue, I get a call from Danielle, a former HOA admin. She'd quit after Barton pressured her to notarize documents with no owner present. She'd saved copies. Gave me a flash drive full of internal emails, payment logs, forged forms. Smoking gun stuff. It laid out the whole scheme: parcel numbers, pressure tactics, kickbacks to Barton's nephew, the guy with the SUV, the works. Tanner and I took it all to the Attorney General in federal court. The AG opened an investigation. We got an injunction. No one could touch my land. I even forced a financial audit as a creditor. The judge gave us the green light to pull every HOA record, inspect every asset. Barton was trapped by his own greed. Then the dominoes fell. Valerie got a letter saying she'd voluntarily transferred her shoreline rights, another fake notarized by Sandra Lynn. More neighbors came forward, lost property, fake charges, intimidation. We held a meeting at the VFW, laid out the evidence. 14 people joined the class action. That's when Barton sent a goon to warn me in the hardware store. "You don't know who you're dealing with." I just grinned and said, "The FBI does." Sent the video to the Tribune reporter. The courtroom was packed the day our case hit the news front page headline: Homeowners Association or Land Theft Syndicate. They had drone footage, emails, witness statements. When the FBI agent took the stand and laid out Barton's whole racket, fake claims, boundary shifts, kickbacks, it was over. The judge called it racketeering. HOA, dissolved assets, frozen land restored. Barton was arrested right outside the courtroom, sweating through his cheap suit, charged with fraud, conspiracy, racketeering, you name it. Glenn flipped and turned in evidence. Other officials got fired or quit. The Tribune story went viral. The Lake Watch Facebook group gone. I went back to Caldwell Lake that fall. The leaves turned gold and red, the fence was gone, and the land felt like it could breathe again. I broke ground on a new, bigger cabin, stronger dock, every bolt, every nail, a reminder I fought for this place. The folks I met along the way, Valerie, Caleb, even Nate, helped rebuild. We healed together. Barton sat in prison. Other HOAs in the state started cleaning house, scared they'd be next. The dominoes kept falling. At the edge of my new drive, I set a sign in iron and oak: private property, not HOA. People slow down, take pictures, wonder about the story. They don't know what it costs to plant that sign, but I do every scar, every letter. So let me ask you, what's justice worth to you? Would you fight if they came for your land, your memories, your peace? Drop your stories below. Tell me what you think. And let's talk about what's right, what's wrong, and what it takes to stand your ground. Because this, my friends, is how you win when the whole world says you can't.